Welcome to the Strategic Plan, an audio series exploring 3 areas that are helping to shape bright, grounded, connected, and inspired students well beyond their years at Leo Baeck. We will dig into the topics of social, emotional well-being, and differentiated learning to see what these buzzwords are all about. And we will visit how teaching Jewish identity has adapted to meet changing times. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the show. And now, back to my conversation with Danielle Applebaum. Let's go to the results you're seeing from offering differentiated learning to your students. What does the success look like from the lens of differentiated learning? And perhaps you can answer from a perspective of success for teachers and the success for the students.
So from the perspective of students, I think we know it's learning when we see engaged students and motivated students who want to go out and do the learning and who are willing to be risk takers with their learning. It allows students to work with their zone of proximal development, so meaning challenging students enough so that they progress, but not so challenged that they're demotivated or frustrated. And when you're in that sweet spot, then we have success. And I think really good differentiated instruction allows for students to be in that special place where they're progressing, but also really challenged in a really positive way. And I think differentiated learning or instruction is working for teachers when teachers really truly understand the needs of their students, when they can, take a moment to pause and think about every kid in their class, what they come into the classroom with, where their abilities lie, what their background is, who their friends are, and truly, really understand that and value that diversity. When teachers value the diversity, it's really successful. And they know their students so well that they know which buttons to push to get students engaged with their learning. And then they go and push those buttons and get the kids, moving forward. And those classes are really challenging classes in a very positive way where everyone is progressing and moving forward. And I think teachers feel good about what's happening there because engaged and motivated students make for very happy teachers.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably like a little bit more prep work for teachers to make sure that atmosphere is in the classroom. But in the end, everybody reaps the benefits for sure. I can totally see that, and that's why it's important, no?
Yeah, I think there's more prep work in advance because you really have to think about who your audience is. But once it's going, it's kind of takes off off its own volition, and students fly with what they've got, and they're going to be so motivated and engaged that the teacher can sit back and be the guide and the coach rather than being the sage on the stage, right? They're standing just lecturing, but rather letting the students explore and do their own thing.
So I have a 2-part question here. It's prepared, so I'm going to read it. Diversity and inclusion is important at Leo Baeck, and many people don't understand what this means in the context of a Jewish day school, where people are believed to be relatively homogenous. Can you speak to the diversity of your population and classrooms? And the second part is, can you address how differentiated learning is a strategy to ensure equity in Leo Baeck?
So diversity in our classroom is mostly invisible, but there is a fair amount of it, mostly neurodiversity. So for example, ADHD, learning disabilities, hearing impairments, autism, vision impairments, social emotional challenges, mental health. There's all kinds of invisible diversity. I'd say approximately 12% of the school population has been identified with some form of neurodiversity. But even aside from that 12%, there's also a lot of diversity of interests and personal experiences. There's diversity in cultural backgrounds and languages spoken at home. The level of involvement of parents is another layer of diversity. And social aptitude and personal experiences outside the classroom also brings a tremendous amount of diversity. And all of these factors affect student achievement and learning, and again, are things that teachers really need to consider when they're planning for their classroom. So in terms of how differentiated learning is a strategy to ensure equity, it's really about making sure that every student has access to the curriculum, assessment, and challenges that they need to be successful. It allows teachers to naturally respond to differences in how students learn and what they bring with them to the classroom. Differentiated instruction ensures that teachers are paying attention to what students need and how those needs change over time. And I think, I mentioned it before, but it's really something that Leo Beck does particularly well, is that we really know our students. From the moment they enter our school, we're observing, we're learning, and we aim to know how they learn and who they're friends with, what their families are like, and what they need to be successful. And by having this in-depth knowledge of our students, we can focus on making sure that there is equity in the classroom and every student gets what they need.
Yeah, I guess I'd also shows itself in the form of how they change too. Like maybe they change in a way where something was successful, in the early years, and as they get older, it's not as effective. And, you work with your teachers on how to figure out how to get to them a little better, right?
Yeah, or vice versa. Some things that weren't working so well in the early years, where a child might be really struggling. In my role, I have wonderful opportunity to have that perspective, to look back with the families and say, you remember when your child was really having a hard time in this particular area? Look how far they've come. Look at the skills that they've learned and how successful they have been. So that's a treat, and that shows success too.
Yeah. You mentioned the survey that you give your graduate students. Can you just can you delve into a little bit what they actually are talking about, the benefits that they have reaped from differentiated learning? You said that they more often say that it's prepared them for high school. But can you go a little bit more into it?
The overall results are that, our grads who they go to chat, they go to private independent schools like BSS or the York School or public school, the overwhelming results consistently, there's always a few outliers, but the consistent results are that they feel very well prepared for their math classes and their science classes, and to be able to write an exam and, to make friendships and all of that. And they feel that the teachers have truly prepared them for their next academic challenge, I guess, or their next step on their academic career, and that we're very confident that our teaching methodologies, differentiated instruction, and the framework that it provides us gives the students the ability to know who they are as learners and make informed choices to propel them forward.
It's so nice to hear, especially as like a Leo Beck alum. It's nice to know that it's changed for the better in this area from when I was a student, and I'm really proud to be associated with the school and glad to see that these things are happening. So thank you so much for the work that you do, and thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us all that is differentiated learning at Leo Beck.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Strategic Plan audio series. I encourage you to keep learning about what creates true educational excellence and how a strong Jewish independent school is flourishing right here in Toronto. For more information, visit leobeck.ca, go to the About drop-down menu, and find all you need to know on the Strategic Plan webpage.